Hey guys, this is Carrie, and in this video we're going to learn a little bit about how the internet works, and then we're going to use that knowledge to make a couple of jokes and have a mini competition in our class about who can create the funniest joke by hacking, I put that in quotes, another website. So let's get started. So when we go to a website like wikipedia.org, we type in wikipedia.org to our URL, and then we press enter. And it's almost like our web browser, Google Chrome in this case, sends a text message to another computer out there that hosts this web page, and it says, hey, send me Wikipedia. And so that's our text message to that computer. And then that computer sends back to us, not Wikipedia, the completed web page, but the website sends back to our web browser the code to build Wikipedia. And the best way to think about this is it's kind of like if you ordered food, and instead of delivering the food to you, the place that you ordered the food from sent you the recipe for how to cook the food. And then you could cook it. So when Wikipedia sends us the code back, this recipe for how to build Wikipedia, what does it look like? So in order to see that, make sure that you're in Google Chrome. And you can do this with any website. You go to View, Developer, View Source. And this is a step-by-step set of directions for how to build Wikipedia. And at first it can be incredibly overwhelming to look at. It seems like it's just total nonsense. But we're going to get a lot of experience this year, and we're going to learn how to write this code ourselves to build websites that look like recipes, to build websites that look however we want them to look. But it is easy if you spend a little bit of time to start to match things up. For example, here I see at the top the word Wikipedia. Maybe that matches up with this. So maybe this step of the recipe says put Wikipedia here. Then I see below the free encyclopedia, and maybe this step of the recipe puts the free encyclopedia there. And then I see, oh, English. And maybe that creates this part of the recipe, Espanol down here, and that might create this part of the recipe. Or sorry, this part of the recipe might create this part of the website. And so we can start see where these steps connect to the page itself. Of course, this is completely overwhelming to start with an already built website, so it's going to be easier in the future for us to build websites from scratch. But today we're going to have some fun by looking through the code of websites that already exist and making small changes to the recipe to cause disasters to appear on the web pages. So to get started, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about, we can save that for another time. We're going to just go to some websites and do some silly stuff. So let me enlarge this again. I can get rid of this. And I'm going to go to Twitter because it's really fun to make people on Twitter say different things. So I'll go to Twitter, Joe Biden. And I will click on this link. And when I click on this link, I'm sending a message to the Twitter website which says, hey, send me Joe Biden's Twitter. But instead of sending me Joe Biden's Twitter, the Twitter website will send back to me a recipe for how to build this. And like we said before, you can see this entire recipe when we go View, Developer, View Source. And Google Chrome knows how to read this recipe and goes through it line by line and builds this website. So what we're going to do, though, is we're not going to look at the whole recipe at the same time. We are going to try to change pieces of this recipe. So let's see. Maybe it would be really funny to me if instead of welcoming back Barack and Michelle, which he did 13 hours ago, he welcomed us back to school. So I'm going to do a control click or a right-hand click on this. And I'm going to use a new tool called Inspect. And what Inspect will do is it will bring up in the sidebar, oh good, I already zoomed in, so it's a little bit more readable. It'll bring up in the sidebar, it should bring up in the sidebar here, let's see how it's going. Yeah, it brings up in the sidebar that entire recipe of code. But it brings it up in an easier to understand way. In some sense, it's a bit more complicated to understand as I scroll through it because the zooming in here looks terrible. Yeah. But it's actually easier for us to understand because we have some helpful tools available to us. So I'm going to use this tool right here. And the part that I want to change is I can actually, oh, look at this. This is so cool. I can go through this and I can like hover over different parts. And as I hover over those, it moves me through the recipe and shows me where they came from. So the part that I want to change is this tweet right here. And when I click on that, using this tool here, it brings me to the part of the code that corresponds to that. And then if I double click inside of this, I can change that recipe to say whatever I want it to say. So for example, welcome back, students. If only I could type, welcome back, students. And then I press enter, and now Joe Biden's Twitter says, welcome back, students. And you make it say like whatever you want to say. In fact, you can change, oh no, I don't want to actually click the video here. You can make it say whatever you want to say. So let's see. Maybe instead of 48 following or 35.4 million followers, why don't we change that number? So 35.4 followers. If I want to change this part, I click this tool. I click here, and I should see, oh, hey, 35.4 million followers. Let's say we want to give Joe Biden, I don't know, something silly like negative 1,000 followers. And then we press enter, and now he's got negative 1,000 followers. We could change his location from Washington, D.C. to, by clicking here, and then here. It takes me to the part of the recipe here, and I'll say Queens, New York. You guys are going to be way funnier than me, so I'll give you a second to do this in the future. But now we've really changed Joe Biden's website to say Queens, New York, and Joe Biden, negative 1,000 followers. It's pretty funny how you can change these things, and you can make them say whatever you want them to say using whatever your sense of humor is. And it doesn't have to be Joe Biden's website here for Twitter. You can change any website like this, including your gradebook even. You can go in and change the numbers to make it look like you have all hundreds. So just to review that entire process, let's see. I'm going to go back to Wikipedia. And on Wikipedia, I want to see that source code. But instead of seeing that source code in that separate window, I want to see it as a little sidebar. So I'm going to click anywhere on the page. I'll click here. And I did control click or right click. I'll press inspect. And let's see. It already took me there, but let's see. Maybe I want to change Wikipedia's name to Caripedia. Okay, that did not work. I failed. So sometimes we can try changing things and it doesn't work out. And it's just because I haven't matched things up correctly. I think that actually this is a picture here, and this was some alternate text. So I don't think I'm going to be able to change the picture, unfortunately. Maybe I can change the free encyclopedia to this. Maybe I can change the free encyclopedia to the free way to do easy research. And hopefully this works or it'll be embarrassing. There we go. The free way to do easy research. And then if we wanted to change English, we can click here. And maybe we can change it to Elven. Sweet. I've been watching way too much Rings of Power on Amazon. But yeah, so we can go through and we can change any website to say anything we wanted to say. So your assignment for the rest of the day is to change a website in a way that you think is funny and school appropriate. And then we'll have a mini competition about who can create the funniest website. So I hope you understand it. And this tool is incredibly useful for us throughout the year because it will help us find errors in our own code. The last thing I need to say is, as I change this recipe, you might wonder what happens when I refresh the page. Will my changes stay? And let's see. So I pressed refresh, and unfortunately the changes go back. And the reason why is when I changed the recipe, I changed my copy of the recipe that I was already sent from Wikipedia. But when I type in wikipedia.org again, I'm sending that message to Wikipedia and they're resending me the original recipe. So that's why I say this is kind of hacking in quotes. It's a momentary hack, and you can get it to say silly things and screenshot it to make it look like something was true. But if somebody actually goes to the website to check, of course it will show the original website, not your changes. So hopefully we can have some fun with this though. Bye guys.